Hello. I know the customary thing is to wait for people to join in, but I find more people join in after it's been a little bit or watch it later. Um, I wanted to share because I had posted one of my TikTok videos yesterday, the day before, um, going over privilege and whether or not I am privileged. And quite honestly, I am privileged. But one of my friends gave me some feedback, and his thought was that that was all stuff that I experienced at the hands of police, and and the reality is no, it really isn't. This is just stuff that I'd experienced socially and at school and in different situations that most of it had nothing to do with the police. And I wanted to share my actual experiences with police. I I think it's important to understand that there is bias and racism, and it happens everywhere. It happens in the workplace. It happens, oh, sorry, my cat's annoying me. It happens in the workplace. It happens in churches. It happens in social situations. It happens with friends, and it happens with people that you know socially but aren't really close to. It happens everywhere. There was, just putting it out there, in my first book, in my memoirs I'd written, I had shared how there was a time I was much younger. I was in my late teens. I was a legal adult at the time, with a girlfriend. We were driving through Hollywood, and a police officer stopped us and wanted to flirt, and it was him being flirtatious. But he was actually pretty skeevy. He was an officer that was trying to flirt with us while on duty. He had a guy that was high out of his mind in the back of his car and showed us a few pieces of crack cocaine that were wrapped up in tissue. That was skeevy. That was a bad cop. Absolutely. And there's another time I had also written about in my book where I was at a bar at the Short Stop before it became hip and trendy. It was a cop bar. And I was hanging out and I was drunk. I'd gotten actually really drunk. I was completely safe that night. Luckily, there were some amazing officers watching over me to make sure that nothing happened to me while I was passed out in the back of a bar. When I was waking up and sobering up, though, one of the officers had asked if I could drive him home because he was an officer and he was too drunk to drive, and he felt that he would be okay on the streets, but taking his ride home on the freeway where the CHP treats LAPD differently, that was bad. That was scary. Yes, those were absolutely bad apples. And you would see that in a church, you would see that in a school, you would see that anywhere. There are good people and bad people in life, and that happens, unfortunately. I will also say, as someone that has experienced domestic violence, I will, without a doubt, every single time, thank officers for their service, thank firefighters for their service, thank military for their service, because they every day put their lives on the line, every day show up for people that need them to show up. They live and work in scary situations. There needs to be support for them, just like there needs to be regulation for them. But that's anywhere. I would expect that in a school with people that are around my children. I would expect that when it comes to Uber or Lyft. There was this joke of, I was talking with a friend tonight about how I had to go pick up my kids. I ended up, long story short, I didn't pick up my kids tonight. But it was this joke of, why don't you use Uber? And I'm like, because I don't trust them. Because I don't know if they're going to be wearing masks on their face. Sorry, my cat's trying to attack me because she's being rude. I don't know if they're wearing masks. I don't know if I have to worry about them being a sexual predator. I don't know if they're going to drive recklessly. I just don't know. And that's the thing, is we don't know what's going on out there. We don't know what's going on with the case, with the idea of, let's get these people arrested. To arrest someone, you want to make sure that your case is bulletproof. Because if you set something up that is absolutely going to fail, then that goes your one shot. You want to shoot your shot. You want to make your shot. You want to make sure that you've built your case in a way that nothing can go against it. This is in anything in life. But when the stakes are super high like this, yes, it's absolutely the case too. I haven't said much. Yes, absolutely, there should be arrests. But they should be arrests that stick. They should be arrests that are solidly making sure that the right people are punished for what they did. And this isn't something that you can just assume is going to be done because they're arrested. You have to build your case first, otherwise someone walks. I experienced this, I learned about this, I should say, in going to court for domestic violence. When I was told, I had this list of things and reasons why I needed protection from the law, why I needed to be safe, and I needed this restraining order. And I was told by the bailiff, I was told by the attorney, this is absolutely domestic violence. This is absolutely something where you need support, you need to be protected. But what you're giving us isn't enough to justify taking away someone's rights. And right now, this person has the right to be where you are at. There's nothing saying that they can't do this, because you can't prove to us that you need this protection, even though we absolutely know that this is domestic violence. I just want to say there are good and bad people everywhere. And it's so important to listen to all sides and be willing to listen, be willing to be coachable, and learn that you don't know everything, and that's okay. And learn that, yeah, it hurts. There's a lot of confusion over what hurts and what feels good, what feels right, what feels wrong. There are people that are processing emotions they've never had for the very first time. And there are people that are like, I've had enough of this. I've been feeling this for my whole life. There's a lot of pain, a lot of anger, a lot of fear. Absolutely a lot of fear. Hug your loved ones. Aha, my light went out. Hug your loved ones. And look at them as the amazing people that you know them to be. And when you see people that you don't know, that you don't understand, look for the similarities. Look for the ways that you connect, the ways that you are intentionally connected together. And try to let that understanding create a bridge. Because without a way to connect and have that bridge between you and other people, they're always going to be other. They're always going to be different. They're always going to be scary. It's when you look and you stop and say, wait. And that's the amazing thing about this movement. There has been a lot of that, stopping and waiting and saying, wait, I'm a mom too. And if my child had called out to me, I'd want to be there. And there are people that, you know, had experienced what it's like to not get what they want because of something that's completely out of their control. And there are people that have never experienced that. I've been encouraged by how many people are using their privilege as a platform for the people that don't have that voice, that have never had that voice to speak up. I'm encouraged by that. But yeah, there's good and there's bad. At the end of the day, there's a lot that we're not okay with. And yes, we absolutely need change. And whether that's coming together and hitting people in the pocketbook, or coming together and speaking up and protesting peacefully, change needs to happen. And when it gets violent, it's because we've done the peaceful thing for a while. There's another situation, actually, it was earlier this year. I was still working at Patient Pop. I was not yet fun employed. And one of my coworkers lived in Alhambra. He used to ride the bus to and from Santa Monica to Alhambra. And it was one night after we'd gone hanging out as coworkers. I think we went to Cabo, or might have been one of those bars. Anyway, I was driving him home, and this was the night that I kidnapped an old lady. We were driving home and getting off in the freeway exit in Alhambra so I can take him home, and I noticed there was a little old lady, a little old Asian lady, Chinese. She was walking up the freeway ramp alone. She was absolutely, did not belong there. It was late at night, it was dark, and if I had been moments earlier or moments later, I would have not seen her. But I saw that she was coming up, and I pulled off to the side. I was getting off the freeway. I pulled off to the side of the on-ramp, and there were cars piling up behind me, honking, trying to swerve around me to avoid me. We kidnapped her. I put her in the car, and we were driving through Alhambra, and I was literally looking for another Asian person, someone that could translate, someone that could help me find her family. The logical thing is to call the police, which we eventually did. But it wasn't my first thought. My first thought was, let's find this woman, someone that can speak to her. We ended up driving to the Ford dealership because it was brightly lit, and we went to ask. I knocked on my friend, Jordan. He's a black man, tall black man. Ignore the fireworks. I've been doing that all night. Tall black man was with me. He can be intimidating, and we wanted to go somewhere that felt safe. So we drove to the dealership with the bright lights, and the owner came out and didn't want to help us, didn't want to talk to us. But under all those lights, I finally called the non-emergency number and said, well, this is non-emergency, but it's kind of emergency. There's this woman who's wandering around by herself, and she doesn't speak English, and she's lost, and we need to help her. I kidnapped her. I basically kidnapped her, drove her away to try to find help for her. And my fear was, here are two black people with a woman that didn't belong to us. I was afraid of what would happen. And quite honestly, I'm amazed at how quickly the police showed up and how many cars there were. And yes, they did walk up to us with their hands on their guns, because that's what they do, it's standard. And I was afraid at first of the fact that there were police officers coming to me and I had kidnapped this poor old woman. At the end of the day, though, her family showed up just as the officers did. And then there was a lot of profound gratitude. In fact, as it was landing on my friend Jordan, he was so uncomfortable with how many thank yous he was getting. And I was able to step back and just appreciate that, because that was a rare moment where it could have gone really badly. And instead it was something that felt really good. They took down our names, took my ID, wanted to make sure that they had our contact if anything came up later. But again, this was an opportunity for things to go really bad, and instead they went really well. So I just wanted to share. I've had more than one or two dealings with police officers. And overall, I would absolutely thank them for their service. Overall, I would absolutely say I am grateful that they put their life on the line for us. And yeah, there's some bad apples. Every family has black sheep. Every church has a hypocrite, unfortunately. Every job has a toxic boss. It's just a thing. And you learn from it, you work with it, and you let it go, and you move forward. And I want to encourage you that this is one of those things that we pick up and we move forward. I love you guys. Do epic shit. Be amazing. Later.